Bonjour, friends, family, and people who just found me on the interwebs. For those of you who don't know, I am on exchange in France, and I have been here for almost 2 weeks. I'll have been gone from Bozeman, where I live, 2 weeks from tomorrow, and I'll have been in France for 2 weeks on Tuesday. So it's been quite the experience so far. And I've decided to document my journey, and so people can hear about this crazy experience of exchange, I've decided to do a vlog. For those of you who don't know, a vlog is a video blog. I debated whether to do an actual blog or a video blog, and I thought, well, I'm kind of funny. And I feel like it would just be easier to do a vlog. Also, I suck at spelling and grammar, so. And writing takes a lot of work. So in the end, it all turned out to this, which is my vlog, which I will try to do every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks, to document my journey, to tell stories, to show pictures, just to tell you what's happening here in Francais. So, without further ado, the vlog.
Oh, let's get rich and buy our parents' homes in the south of France. Let's get rich and give.
So the last 2 weeks have been insane. I've done so much, met so many people, had a lot of emotions in me and coming out of me in many forms. So I'll just tell you the stories. So the flights over here were terrifying because I hate flying, and the whole time I thought I was gonna die. Woo! So that was exciting. In the airport in Minneapolis, I met some other kids going to France on Rotary Exchange, which was exciting. I met a girl named Brooke, and I don't remember anyone else's name because I only talked to Brooke after that. And she's from Canada. So I got here in France on Tuesday, August 29th, and there were people who met me at the airport, and it was crazy. So I got off the plane and I had no idea what to do. And supposedly there was someone who had come to meet me at my gate, but I didn't know that because I hadn't heard anything. So I just kind of started walking, and luckily I have traveled before, so I know they have to get to customs and then you have to go to baggage. And so I made my way to customs, just following the sign, have no idea what's going on, where I'm meeting someone. And so I make it there, and there's just this long line, and I just kept laughing because I was like, it's just so funny that the world had brought me here, and I was just by myself. And before I left, my parents said, if you ever just remember, if you're scared or worried or sad, just one foot in front of the other. Not just physically, metaphorically too. Every minute just goes by, and just breathe. And so when I was in that airport, I was just putting one foot in front of the other and following where the world took me. And I was just laughing how perfect it worked out, and it was all so easy. And there were people there to get me when I came out of the airport, and we went to the hotel across the street, and all the exchange students going to my district. Side note, so for those of you who don't know, for Rotary, all the countries are split up into districts. So Montana is its district itself, but a lot of states have a bunch of districts, and France has a lot of districts. And so your district is just your area. So when you go on trips or when you have meetings, it's just with your district. So my district technically is Brittany and Mayenne area, that of France, that area. So I met up with all the kids going to that area, and there's about 35 of us. And not all of us were there, because some kids were getting there later. But most of us were there, and we just were in the hotel for the whole day. We just talked and got to know each other, and I was my wacky self, and everyone was like, the American, and I was like, the American. So that was fun, and we traded our pins. most valuable thing in a Rotary Exchange student's life. Gotta get all those pins. For those of you who don't know, I've said that a lot now. We trade pins. So you can make your own, or some districts give their students pins, and you put them on your Rotary blazer, and so you're all blinged out. You make this beautiful piece of artwork on your blazer of pins just around the world. It's actually pretty neat, but really ugly. So, anyway, so after everyone got there and we got to know each other, and everyone knew me as the American because I was loud and happy. Sorry, not sorry. We all got on a bus and we drove to where they were dropping us off, which was, I got there at 7:30 and I didn't get to I got there at 7:30 a.m. and I didn't get to my town until 8 p.m. So we were in that hotel all day and driving on the bus all day. And I got off the bus at where my town was picking me up. And there were 2 of my host families, which I have 3 this year, but 2 of them were there. And also, like, a bunch of people from my host club. So the club that was hosting me to come to France. And it was just so cool because they were all there, but I felt so bad because everyone was talking to me and saying hi to me, and they were all talking in French, and I hadn't slept in like 36 hours, and I was so overwhelmed, and I was just like, oui, bonjour, baguettes. So it was a lot, and not the best first impression, but that's okay. Anyway, that night, after I went to my host family's house, my first host family's house, they had a dinner party at my YEO youth exchange operator, the person who's kind of like looking after me while I'm here, like above all, his house. And we went over to his house, and there was a dinner party with all my families and all the people who like had brought me here, and everyone from my club. And it was just so amazing because everyone was so kind and so welcoming, and just like felt like they wanted me there, and everyone was so excited to have me there. And I met all my host siblings, and they were so nice, and my host families were awesome. It was just a really cool night, and I just kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm in France, like that's crazy. So the next day, I went to my third host family's house because my first host family had a wedding they needed to go to. So I spent the day and night there, and they were so kind, and it just like really felt like home. And it was so weird because I had never met them before in my life, other than the day before. And they just welcomed me into their house, and the brother, my host brother, he had friends over, and he was like, yeah, come play Xbox with us, like, come do this with us. And I had dinner with them, and they were all laughing, and it was just like, I just really felt like I had another home already, even though I'd only been there for not even a day. And so that was really cool, and they were so kind. And then the next morning, I got on a bus with 5 other exchange students, the exchange students in, like, my area. So, like, there's, like, a few towns that are pretty close to each other, Laval, which I'm in, and then there's Chateau-Grandier and Mayenne, and they're all pretty close to each other. So the 5 of us were in a car together, and we drove to Vannes, which is a city on the coast, which is a really beautiful city, and it's just really cool. And we met all the other exchange students from our district, and we all got to know each other, and we had a 4-day weekend together we went over the rules, and we had French lessons, but we also just hung out, and we had like a talent show, and we met the kids who had just gotten back from exchange, and we had like a dance party, and we ate together, and it was just so cool because all these kids, like, we're all going through the same thing, we're all getting put into these houses that we have never been in before, we're in a country we've never been in before, with the language and the food, it's all different, and yet we're all, like, there together and all going through the same thing, so it's like we're all same in this different world. So it's really cool to get to know those kids and trade our pins, taking it back to the pins. Anyway, the weekend was really fun, and we got to know each other, and I got back Sunday night, and Monday I started school, which, let me tell you, was, yeah, so, yeah. Oh my god, school was insane. The problem was, I didn't understand anything. So, like, I got to school on the first day, and it was like 11 a.m., and my host mom had walked me to school, it's like about a mile. So, I mean, it's not that bad. And it's like a beautiful walk, but we got there, and they got me to like my first classroom, and the teacher just started talking, and it just sounded like what? Yeah, sounded like that, and it was insane. And I just was kind of like copying the other students, so I was like, oh, they're writing something down. I was like, oh, they're doing this, and then like suddenly the teacher said something, and everyone like started shoving stuff in their bag and heading out the door, and I was like, oh, okay, we're leaving, and so we headed out, and I didn't really know what was happening next because I didn't know what class I had just been in, or I literally knew nothing because I didn't understand anything, and so I figured out that it was lunchtime, and so I went down into the lunch, and, you know, I ate with this Italian girl who's not a real exchange student because she's living here with her father, but it wasn't really a great lunch because she didn't speak any English, and I didn't speak any Italian, and she spoke more French than me, so she would say something in French expecting me to know, and I'd be like, oui? So, it was very rough, and, it was crazy. And, you know, they always say, like, oh, the poor new kid, like, the new kid has no friends, the new kid eats alone, and like, it's true. Like, it's really hard to make new friends when you speak the language. Now take that away. It's, anyway, so my favorite class so far has been English, because, you know, it's really easy, and music's also really fun, but I have made friends. Eventually, I did make friends, and they're really cool. I mean, I don't know them that well because they don't really speak much English, so our conversations are like, bonjour, bonjour Julien, oh, ça va, ça va, et toi? Oui, non, oui. Yeah, something like that. So it's a little difficult, but the person I'm closest with so far, she speaks a little English, so that's good. Anyway, this weekend, it's been cool. It's been a bit hard because, you know, I got there, and then I was at my weekend events, and then I was at school, and so, like, this weekend, Saturday, was the first day I had nothing. And so it was just really hard because it kind of hit me. I was like, oh, wow, I am really far from home. And so yesterday and today I've been a bit homesick, but what helps is just getting outside, and, like, because, you know, when you're inside and you're, let's say, watching Friends, because nonstop, and what I've been doing, Friends for the best. Anyway, you're watching Friends, or you're doing something that you would usually do at home. You're like, oh, wow, this isn't home. This isn't where I grew up with. This isn't my family. And then you start to think, like, oh, God, what am I doing here? When you get outside, like, yesterday I was feeling really, really homesick, like, the most homesick I felt so far, and it was really rough. And then my host sister was like, do you want to come on a bike ride with me? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And so I went on a bike ride with her, and we just, like, biked along so our town is right along this big river, and we just biked along the river for like 4 miles, and it was just amazing. And, like, there was all these little houses on the river, and I just, like, was listening to my music and talking with my host sister and just biking, and it just, like, it totally got my mind off of it, because, you know, that's kind of thing I wouldn't do in Bozeman, and if I did do it, it'd be totally different. And so, like, it just, like, makes it better, because you're like, oh, I'm here because of these moments, and I'm here because I've lived my life in Bozeman, and now it's time to see the world and see new things. And so that's really cool. And yesterday I went bowling with my friends, and that was a lot of fun. The bowling alley was, like, really nice. So I want to talk about French stereotypes. So there's a lot of French stereotypes, and I found that many of them aren't true. Like, I have seen maybe one person with a beret on. I would cross out the stereotype. Also, the stereotype with those stripy shirts. Like, people do wear striped shirts, but it's not like, oh my god, everyone's wearing striped shirts. But, you know what stereotype is definitely true? There's two of them that are 100% true. The bread and the smoking. So first, let's talk about the smoking. There's so much smoking here. Everybody smokes. It's so normal. There is like not a playground. There's like a section of my schoolyard just for smoking, which like it's nice of them that they would like be like, if you want to smoke, go to your smoking section. But like, we're at a high school. It just like blew my mind, and it's always full. Like, even during class, you're like, how do you have time for this? Huh? And I'm lucky because so far, none of my friends that I'm friends with or my family smoke, which I'm glad about because I'm not a huge fan of like the smell, but it's just like crazy how much everyone smokes. And the second stereotype that is 100% true is the bread. They eat so much bread. It's a little story. Before I left, I had this little epiphany. I was like, I need to stop shoving fried food in my mouth. I'm gonna kill myself young. So I decided I would try to eat healthier. And you can ask my parents. It went pretty darn well. Yeah, I was eating healthy. And I did it for the 2 weeks. And I got to France and I was like, I'm gonna keep this. My first dinner. I tried. I really tried, but the thing is, the French love their bread. And it's not just like, oh, I love bread. No. It's like, I love bread, and you'll love bread. And if you don't eat my bread, I'll kill you. So, at dinner, we'll have eaten a meal, and then they'll bring out the bread. And I'm like, we just had like a 3-course meal, and now you're bringing out the bread? And they'll be like, do you want a piece? And I'll be like, no, thank you. Je suis content. And they'll be like, you don't want my bread? Huh? Why don't you want my bread? Is my bread wrong? No, my bread is right. You're wrong. I'll be like, okay, give me the bread. I love bread. I could eat bread all day. And I mean, it's true. I do love bread, but like, it's every meal. Every meal. Well, it is about that time to wrap things up. Thank you for listening. For those of you who listened all the way through. For those of you who didn't, you missed that one really good story. Well, I'm going to probably go watch some Friends now because you know how much I like that show. And I just went on an 18-mile bike ride, so I'm pretty wiped. Anyway, I'll catch y'all on the flippity-floppin', as the French say. La vie est belle.